Welcome to Real Swell. Let's talk about some movies. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoy the show. I decided to watch Blue Streak the other day. It stars Martin Lawrence, Luke Wilson, a few other notable characters. And as the movie was ending, I came to the realization that this movie is almost perfect. Now, hear me out. Martin Lawrence plays a jewel thief who has to infiltrate a police precinct to get back a diamond that he had stolen on a heist that had gone awry. And throughout the movie, it just seems so good how the movie progresses, how the characters are developed, and how well this movie is written. Again, came out in 1999. The dialogue was that of a movie that came out in 1999. I wouldn't say that any of it aged poorly, but you can definitely tell that the dialogue was written in the late 90s. But it doesn't detract from how well the movie was written. The dialogue between each characters, and again, how each character progresses through the film as far as what we learn about them and who they become. Every character, every notable character seems to have grown as the movie progresses, and you get to see that on screen. Well, Martin Lawrence plays Miles Logan, and he is a jewel thief, and he is the mastermind of his crew. He's the leader of his crew. And the movie opens up with him on a heist with his team, and he is quarterbacking the entire thing. And we get a glimpse of his craft. We get a glimpse of how well and how seasoned he is at being a jewel thief. He is coordinating with all of his team members. He's got two people up on the roof with him. He's got his technician and his escapist. And then he's got his getaway driver, of course, down on the ground in the car. And one of the first conversations that we hear from him is he's talking to the getaway driver and he's berating him kind of jokingly about his smoking habit. And he says, "Hey, you're not down there smoking, are you? Those things are bad for you." Now, he doesn't really get into why he's chastising his getaway driver about his smoking, but the reason that he's doing that is because he doesn't want a pile of cigarette butts to accumulate outside of the car on the ground. Because if anybody walks by, they're going to see that this pile of cigarette butts has accumulated and will wonder why this car has been sitting here so long. Now, the movie pays that off later on in the scene, but that just goes to speak to how well this particular character and setup is, how well it's written. And we get further detail of what he is doing and how he's planning this by making sure that his technician is making sure the cameras are in their control, making sure that they understand where all the blind spots are, where all the security guards are, and even looping back some of the footage so that they can get in and out without the security guards watching the monitors being able to tell that anyone's in. He's got his rope man who finds the perfect vent for them to get into the building and then get back out once they've retrieved the diamond. He's making sure all the T's are dotted, T's are crossed, and I's are dotted. So they get down into the building and they find their way to the vault. And he kind of, again, jokingly says to his one of his other team, like, what about this vault do you know? How are we going to get into this vault? And he makes the joke, like, what's the first thing that you check when coming up across a vault like this? And he says, you check to see if it's open or unlocked. And of course, again, he's just joking, but he's just having this cheerful banter, giving us the impression again that this isn't the first time he's done this. This isn't his first rodeo. He can have fun while robbing this vault, but at the same time understand what's actually at stake here and what's actually supposed to be done. So he cracks the vault. He gets the combination. They've got digital encryption keys or decryption keys, to make sure that they can, key in what the code needs to be after they've broken the lock and the mechanism itself so that they can open that lock after. Well, the security guards catch wind that they are there. Something that he didn't account for happens, and the security guards come busting through, and he has to make an escape. He has to separate from the person that he was in the vault with. They go their separate ways. He says, "Meet me on the roof. I've got a different route to take." So he finally does get back up onto the roof after escaping the guards who have been shooting at him and trying to get him and things like that. He gets onto the roof, and there's a helicopter, a police helicopter, outside looking for him. And he has to find a way to escape this situation, this environment. And he finds a building adjacent that is under construction. So he zip lines over to that building to try to get away. He finds himself rummaging through the unfinished walls and the construction site that is this unfinished building. And he's in the vents now, trying again to escape the pursuing officers who have tracked him into this building as well. Well, he takes the diamond that he doesn't want to get caught with and he tapes it inside one of the ventilation systems of this building. And then he takes note of where that ventilation system is. He takes note of the address of the building that's unfinished because he intends or fully expects that he's going to be arrested. He's going to get caught. He doesn't really see any way out of this. So he at least will make sure that once he gets out of prison, he will be able to come back to the spot and find that diamond. Well, it turns out that 2 years go by, he gets out of prison, and he strolls back to that address, and he sees a police precinct there. And he, of course, freaks out. Like, what am I supposed to do now? How am I going to get into the ventilation system of this precinct? I'm a criminal. This is not going to work. So he goes to one of his contacts who is instrumental in developing fake IDs and falsifying identification for other heists and other criminals around the city. And this man is able to get him a police badge, falsify a police record, giving him the identity of a detective who is transferring to this precinct and needs to work in this building. And of course, this particular premise is, of course, nonsense. There's no way that someone's going to stroll into a police precinct with falsified records. Someone vets that information and says, okay, this checks out. Even if it doesn't check out, there's no way that they're not going to do a deeper dive into why it doesn't check out. They're not going to accept, oh, there's probably something that I don't understand. Maybe the system hasn't refreshed or, things haven't been updated yet, and I just can't tell. And that's the story that they give is the captain of this precinct. He finds the file. He has the file, and he's looking through it. He's searching through it. He's trying to call around to make sure that this is legit. And he can't find any information. No one knows who Miles Logan is, and he just says, "You know what? We'll just run with it. We need a new lead detective anyway. This guy just showed up at our front door. Let's just not look a gift horse in the mouth." So he then is tasked with his first case. He says, "Hey, we need you out in the field. It's a perfect time for you to have shown up. We actually need someone to go look at a crime scene with our new rookie detective, actually." And of course, he's protesting the entire time, saying, I don't actually need to be in the field. I just got here. Let me find my desk. Let me get settled in. Because, of course, he just wants to get to this vent, get his diamond, and get out. Well, after an exchange, they find themselves out on the road and they do end up at this crime scene. And it's a man who is trying to report a theft of some merchandise that, he sells at his shop. Well, Miles immediately figures out, because again, he is a thief himself, that this call is fake, is fraudulent. The man who called it in is trying to collect on some insurance because the merchandise that he stole and the way that it was stolen that the man reports isn't possible and or doesn't make sense if you were thinking about it from the mind of someone who was stealing it. So Miles breaks down all the ways that this story doesn't check out. And then he says, he pulls the shop owner to the side and says, "Hey, I know what's up. I know that this is false. And in fact, I know where your product is. It's in this van over here. You didn't even move the van. Everything about this story is so predictable that I'm not going to arrest you. I'm just going to let you know this doesn't make any sense. But now you owe me one." And then he says that to his partner, who also objects to him not being arrested. So why aren't we arresting this criminal? He called in a fake police report. And Miles says, "You know what? Don't worry about it. He owes us one now." So he's proving his usefulness to this precinct unintentionally, just because he is a thief and spots the activity and the mindset of criminals when he sees it. And he's able to use that to solve some of these crimes that he's been tasked with. Well, as time goes on, he does find a way to get into the vents. He does find a way to find where the diamond is, but he can't get to the diamond. He just knows where it is at this point. He's on his second crime scene now, and this one is a little bit more involved. It has to do with a drug bust. He is sent out to a high speed chase, actually, and there's this drug route, and they want to make sure that they can stop these drugs from being transported from wherever they are to wherever they're going. And Miles kind of gives them a hint. If you want to find where these drugs are, just look for this particular type of van marked with this particular type of serial number on it. And it turns out that that checks out. They have eyes in the sky. They spot this van that shouldn't be driving around that has these markings on it. And it's a very strange coincidence that it's exactly the description that Miles gave. So they run the van down, they pull him over, boom, the drugs are in the back. They find these drugs and take them back to the precinct. And it turns out that it was a part of an FBI sting. The FBI was actually allowing these drugs to be transported to a bigger fish that they are trying to apprehend. Well, everyone is celebrating the good job that Miles has done in getting back these drugs, while at the same time, the FBI is breathing down their necks saying, "Yeah, that's a win, but we need those drugs back because we've got other things to do." Well, there's a wrench in the FBI's request because as Miles is checking in this evidence, it turns out that where they put this pallet of cocaine is right below the vent where his diamond is. So he's checking in the evidence. He finds the diamond, grabs it, and is standing on top of this pile of drugs. And someone walks in. The FBI is like, "Hey, we're ready. Bring these drugs out to us so that we can be on our way." Well, it startles him, Miles, and he drops the diamond in this or on this pallet in the crevices of the other bricks of cocaine that are sitting there. Well, now he can't let these drugs go. He has to come up with a reason for those drugs to not be out of his sight long enough for him to be able to get that diamond back before everyone else spots it and goes, "Why is there a diamond in these drugs? Is this a part of the deal?" Well, he argues with his captain and the FBI and like, "You know what? How about this? How about we set up a sting operation? How about we call the drug pen that you're trying to catch to a location and we bring the drugs. Let's escort the drugs there and make sure that these drugs don't get out of our sight again. While you guys come up with that plan though, I'm going to go make sure that the drugs are okay still and, then you guys can take it from there and get this operation going. Well, the police captain says, that is a great idea, but we want you to lead this operation, Miles. He's like, no, I really just need to go check out the drugs and then I'll just go back to my desk. Because he, again, wants to get that diamond and then get out of the precinct, never to be seen again by these people. Well, the FBI says, you know what? Sure. If that's how you want to play it, Miles, take the lead on this. And we will follow you. And at the point where we believe we need to step in, we will. So he finds himself in the truck with the driver, escorting these drugs over to the meetup location. All the while, one of the other team members that he was on the heist with at the beginning of the movie is looking for him because the heist went bad. They didn't get the diamond, and he is owed his cut of this heist. So he's trying to figure out where Miles is. He knows that he was in prison, but now he's out and hasn't heard from him. So he thinks that Miles has spent this money and isn't giving him his cut. So he does some investigating of his own, and he goes to that forger, and is able to get out of him that he provided him these credentials to be a detective at this police precinct. Well, he finds him at the precinct and is able to ascertain that this operation is going down. So he follows him to that location and he finds himself in the back of the van with Miles. And they have an altercation and they are rummaging through this pallet of drugs and the partner gets the diamond. And at that exact moment, the people that they are going there to meet open the doors to the van and they pull them out and is about to shoot them, wondering why there's so many people in here. This isn't what we had talked about. We were only expecting one person, and now there are all these other people. And the suspicions of this being a trap or a setup come about. Well, Miles's partner, who has the diamond already, doesn't care if Miles lives or dies. He says, you know what? He's a cop. Go ahead and shoot him in the face, and I'm going to go. No other action necessary. I'm doing you a service. I didn't know he was a cop either. But yeah, just go ahead and just take him out, and we can go our separate ways. Well, they go back and forth. Miles is arguing, his partner's arguing, the criminals that they're trying to set up from the sting, they're arguing. And the FBI finally says, you know what, we can't wait here any longer. Someone's about to get killed. So they intervene, and Miles's partner and Miles, they manage to separate themselves from all of the fighting that's happening there and are in a high speed chase down the highway now. The partner takes the van that has the drugs in it because that's the only car around, and he's able to get in there and make his escape while everyone else is trying to shoot down and arrest everyone else. Miles pursues him in another car that's also there at the meet. The FBI and the police, after they've gotten done taking care of everyone who's at the scene, they join Miles in this chase. And they're going down the highway and they're very close to the Mexican border. And the FBI says, you know what, we need to slow down because if he hits the border, that's where we have to stop. We don't have any jurisdiction in another country. So if he makes it to the border, then we have to let this go and find a different way to get him. And the police captain, he's over the radio saying, you know what, you're right. We have to pull back too. And Miles is like, no, we need to find this guy. We need to capture him. We need to get these drugs back. What he means is I can't let him go into Mexico with my diamond. That's not how this is going to work. Well, they are at the border. His partner has driven across. He's in Mexico now. And what Miles does is he does a pit maneuver and he incapacitates the car, makes renders it immobile. And he because understands he's not actually a cop, just disobeys the order. And of course, he goes into Mexico after his diamond. And he catches up with his partner, who's now kind of turned over and is crawling out of the van. It's like, give me the diamond. Let me arrest you. They think I'm a cop. I will make sure that your sentence isn't very long. And as soon as you get out, we can split this money because that was originally the plan anyway. You don't want to go to jail in Mexico. Let me arrest you, take you back to the States, and we can get this figured out. When, of course, none of that makes any sense because he's not a cop in the first place. So why would his partner or ex partner believe any of that? That's not how law enforcement works. But anyway, these are two criminals talking and trying to figure out how to get out of this without going to jail in Mexico. So the partner, he agrees. He says, you know what? That's fine. But don't backstab me. I'm going to let you arrest me, but I need my money once I get out of prison. And Miles like, yeah, of course. That's what we talked about. That's what's going to happen. Just give me the diamond and let me arrest you. So he gets the diamond, handcuffs his ex partner to the overturned truck, and something comes over his partner. He's like, you know what? I don't actually trust you. I believe that you're just going to run off with my diamond anyway. So how about I just shoot you in the back, get out of this handcuff, and then live in Mexico for the rest of my life? Well, Miles gets a sense that he's about to be shot in the back, and he turns around, shoots his ex partner. He's done now. Well, he's approaching the border back into America, and his partner, Luke Wilson, and the police captain, they approach the border from the United States side, and they kind of come to this realization that they understand that Miles isn't a detective. They understand that Miles is actually a criminal. They try to explain all the different oddities around his behavior, his character, some of the knowledge that he had. Like it starts to add up that it makes more sense that the reason that they couldn't find anything on him, the reason that his file and his credentials didn't check out is because they were fake. It starts to add up that, oh, he's probably a jewel thief. That's why he was so good at solving these crimes that we had tasked him with. And they kind of accept that he got one over on them. And then they accept, oh, you are in Mexico. We're in America. We can't move 3 feet in front of us to apprehend you because we have no jurisdiction there. And they have a little joke about it. And they shake hands and they hug even across the border, but that here no there. And as that's how the movie ends. Miles turns around and he walks into Mexico with his diamond and he lives happily ever after. And as it's ending, I'm thinking to myself again, this movie is really good and it's almost perfect. It's got great characters. The plot is structured very well. It's written very well. The action scenes are good, but I say almost perfect because I left something out. At the very beginning of the movie, when Miles is on this heist, I mentioned that something that Miles hadn't accounted for caused the heist to go awry. What happened was the partner who he comes into confrontation with at the end of the movie shoots someone of their team while they're up on the roof before Miles can meet back up with them after the security guard catches them. His partner shoots him off of the roof. Well, why did he do that? You didn't have the diamond yet. You were greedy. You didn't want to split the money 4 ways because you've got the getaway driver, the guy he shoots, himself, and then Miles. He didn't want to split all that cash so many ways. I understand that. But you risked the entire operation to prematurely take out everyone who needed to share in the profit from this heist. That to me makes the movie not make any sense because he could have just waited until they had the diamond and were somewhere else. They didn't give us any mention of him being on a time crunch where he needed money for something else, or else something else would happen to him. It was just that he was greedy and didn't want to share. Well, Hugh shooting this person is what caused the police attention to be brought to you. And then you shoot him off of the roof, making it even worse. Because now the getaway driver has to explain why he's sitting outside of this building with bodies flying off of it and gunshots at the roof. Miles, once he gets up onto the roof, you have a confrontation with him too, saying, "Give me the diamond. I've got a gun to your face." Miles is saying, "What happened? Why did you, why are you shooting people off of the roof? I've got the diamond. Let's go." Like, no, I want the diamond now. Give it to me. And then that's what causes him to find himself on the other building where he needs to hide the diamond. He is chased there because his partner decides that he needs this diamond right now and doesn't want to split it with anyone. He makes that decision before they even have the diamond secured. So, the inciting incident for this movie is poorly timed. If they could have written a different opening scene, or at least given it a different place in the movie, we can still have everything after that. Everything after that is gold. Everything after that is great. But the reason all of it had to happen doesn't necessarily add up. But aside from that, this is a perfect movie. It's hilarious. It's got a good story, good character development. And I definitely recommend it. I'm sure most of you have seen it by now. But if you haven't, Blue Streak came out in 1999. Check that movie out. Thank you for coming to this screening of Real Swell. I hope you enjoyed. As you head out, I've got three things to ask of you. Number one, pick up your trash. At least ushers don't get paid enough. Number two, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next screening. And number three, hit that like button. I'll see you all next time. Make sure you've got your ticket.